Hey, this is Danielle with the Collective Genius, and I wanted to introduce you to rockstar real estate investor Casey Ryan out of Las Vegas. Casey, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am good, thank you. I know you're being featured at the upcoming CG event in Scottsdale this March, and we're very excited to have you. We are ramping up ourselves. So it's been a very busy couple weeks. Casey, why don't you kick us off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm a real estate investor out in Las Vegas. I've been investing in real estate since 2015. My background's in mechanical engineering. I went to UNLV for 5 years, got my engineering degree. And once I graduated, I jumped ship and dove into real estate investing with a partner. And then, for the first couple of years, first 3 years or so, we were flipping about 100 houses a year. And then in 2018, I switched off and we jumped into direct to homeowner marketing. So we didn't do any marketing in the first 3 years or so. And now in 2018, I did about 117 deals, and then 140, and same thing with 2020. So that's my background.
Well, I appreciate that. And I also know that you recently provided a very successful training to the CG community last month about profit margin. Can you tell us a little more about what that training was about?
Yeah, so I was just covering how we track on a day-to-day basis a live feed of the profitability of our business. In the past, I'd always monitored everything through Excel sheets, but it just became so taxing and labor intensive to constantly keep them updated. So at some point, I basically changed, I integrated my CRM with various dashboards that help me monitor every aspect of my business, from my sales guys' daily performance to my ROI on each individual marketing campaign, conversion per rep, conversion per lead source. And these aren't things that I sit there and stare at all day, but it keeps my finger on the pulse of my business. So when things aren't working, I can shift quickly to make sure that we stay profitable. And that's allowed us to, last year, I think we were roughly around a 70% profit margin for our business.
I know that your 70% profit margin had a lot to do with what prompted the discussion. What would you say were some of the biggest key points that our members were able to take away from your presentation?
A couple things. One is you don't need a huge staff to get huge results. If you have a few solid people on your team, then you don't need an army of people running your company, and that keeps your labor low on the front end of everything. And I have less employees, and they're higher paid employees than I would be able to afford if I had double the workforce. That's one thing. Other thing is to not forget about the relationship building that you can do within your community to get free deals. So I think that's crucial for everybody to remember, is that it doesn't all have to be driven by, or all of your revenue doesn't have to be generated by the marketing dollars that you spend. It can just simply be, your influence within the marketplace. So that's super key to keeping us profitable too.
Thank you. And I know that after the training call that you hosted, I know that CG had reached out to you about taking the main stage at our next event. The theme of this event is something we've been discussing a lot about at CG, and that's how inventory seems to be a very big problem for investors right now, but that the problem might really be a leak in your sales funnel. Can you speak to that and how that correlates to what you will be presenting on at CG this quarter?
Yeah, so I think the number one thing within any organization, the first place you can always find profit is within your existing leads, within your existing database. So you need to squeeze every bit of juice out of those that you possibly can. And in order to do that, obviously you need to have a tight sales conversion or a sales process in place. However, I think that it's even more important to have various automations in place to help your team, that's to help your team be more efficient and do all the heavy lifting for them. So, sales guys are good at a lot of things, but mostly they're good at that one kill, and keeping the broader picture and the follow-up is not necessarily always their strong suit. So we built out our CRM to have a ton of automations to keep these sellers that are important to them fresh in their mind. And then anything that's, they're hot leads, they're always going to be on top of those, but it's those warm follow-up leads that often slip through the cracks and that they forget to check on. And that's where a good majority of our revenue comes from too, is those long-term relationships built with sellers. And a lot of that's automated so that they don't have to do all that constant follow-up.
Right, right. Well, it sounds like your presentation is going to be a huge give. And as you know, Go Giving is one of CG's core values. So
Yep.
Speaking of, will you be sharing any systems or documents with our members so that they can implement what they've learned once they get back home or in the office?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll put a Dropbox file together that has a lot of, I think the best way to do it. I know that it's nice to have Word documents and everything written out, but the way that I've always done it for my team and for any of my staff that helps me build things out is I just do screen recording. So I'm just going to have a Dropbox folder that has various screen recordings of the different things that we do and exactly how I built them out. And how we keep an eye on things and make sure nothing's breaking, and just screen recordings is probably going to be the best resource.
That's awesome. And I know our community really appreciates it. Casey, thank you for your time today. If you need help converting the leads that you have into contract, we will be tackling this exact subject at our next event. To request your invitation, visit us at fixmyleakybucket.com.